My name is Jake Kildew, and I'm an editorial assistant here at the Press. We're pleased to be here today with our Books for Better Understanding author event series. Today we'll be meeting to discuss our forthcoming title, Global Initiatives of Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, Peace, Reconciliation, and Care for Creation, edited by John Chrysovgis. This book will stand as a celebration of Patriarch Bartholomew's historic visit to Notre Dame in the fall of 2021, where he was awarded an honorary degree from the university. In honor of this visit, this work brings together 11 important joint statements from Patriarch Bartholomew and a variety of other Christian leaders, addressing topics such as climate change, the refugee crisis, and ecumenism. The book includes an introduction by John Chrysovgis and a foreword from Notre Dame's own president, Father John Jenkins, himself instrumental in the 2021 visit. It will be published by Notre Dame Press on April 1st of this year. I'm joined here this morning by Father Brian Daley, a distinguished theologian and professor emeritus here at Notre Dame. Father Daley is a longtime advocate for dialogue and cooperation between the Catholic and Orthodox churches. He's published widely not only on patristic Christology, but also on ecumenical dialogue and Christian unity. He has kindly agreed to spend a bit of time with us discussing the book and its importance. Welcome, Father Daley, and thank you for being here with us this morning.
Thank you, Jacob. Thanks for inviting me.
And yeah, of course, it's my pleasure.
Excited about the publication.
Us as well. Great. So to start off, I wonder if you could tell us just a bit about Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew. Who is he and why is he important?
Well, he is the Patriarch of the Greek Orthodox Communion. As you know, the Orthodox churches are gathered partly by history and partly by language and culture, partly by geography, into a number of different groups. Unlike the Western Church, the group of Christians in union with the Bishop of Rome. And the largest of those, and in some ways the most significant worldwide, is the Greek Orthodox community, which is centered in Constantinople, the old capital of the Byzantine Empire, and which is presided over by Patriarch Bartholomew, who was before this a leading Greek Orthodox bishop in the communion. Patriarch Bartholomew, as you may know, studied for a while in Geneva. He has a doctorate, I believe, from the University of Geneva, and has been known for most of his life as a great promoter of union among the churches, and also as a campaigner for Christian care for the environment. He's sometimes known as the Green Patriarch, right? Because he, long before many other Christian leaders were doing it, he'd be calling attention of Christians around the world to our need to be responsible for the world we live in, for our planet. So he is a representative of one of the main concerns that Christians have today for care for the environment, but also for union among Christians. We're getting beyond our historical divisions and trying to reaffirm what we share together as disciples of Jesus.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, so in the foreword to the book, Notre Dame's president, Reverend John Jenkins, speaks about Patriarch Bartholomew's visit to Notre Dame in October of 2021. What was sort of the significance of this visit for the church?
Well, I think it shows Notre Dame's awareness of Patriarch Bartholomew's importance. We don't have a great number of students or faculty who are members of the Greek Orthodox community as such, and yet I think the whole community, anyone who's aware of Christian statements and public discourse is aware that Patriarch Bartholomew stands alone almost in his being a campaigner for our responsibility for the environment around us. And so I think is a recognition of that, as well as of his role as the leader of the Greek Orthodox community, that Notre Dame wanted to honor him and express his admiration for him. He'd been doing this for a long time. He speaks perfect English. He's in touch with many of the leaders of the Roman Catholic Church, which has been the origin of Notre Dame tradition. And so I think it's a chance for Notre Dame to express its own sense of unity with other Christians in standing up for some of the concerns that we all have as human beings today, members of the modern world.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, so one of the, I think, unique virtues of this book is that it brings together for the first time the Ecumenical Patriarch's statements on a wide variety of pressing global issues, things like climate change, the refugee crisis, ecumenism, interfaith dialogue, even. Um, what kind of sort of broader theological vision do these various statements bespeak?
Well, I think it bespeaks, first of all, a sense that uh, as Christians, we're called to take responsibility for our human actions and for the human context we live in, for the world around us. So our concern, our moral obligation as Christians is not simply to keep the Ten Commandments or to observe the purity of our own traditions, but to join with other human beings in our moral concern for the world around us, in making sure that the world survives and survives well. And I think Patriarch Bartholomew has reminded us of that in a very clear way. Leaders of other Christian denominations have done that too, but he's been especially outspoken and began doing this before other Christian leaders were really as articulate in the question. So I think we owe him a great deal for pointing us towards this common moral responsibility we bear for the world we live in. Notre Dame, I think, has seen that and has given him an honorary degree, has invited him to address us, to remind us himself of the obligations we have. And so it's brought Notre Dame into a more ecumenical situation in recent years, which I'm very proud of.
Right. Yeah, me too, of course. Excellent. So, but beyond giving us a sense of Patriarch Bartholomew's theological vision, I think the book also has something to say about the church worldwide. After all, the statements included here are joint statements composed and promulgated by Bartholomew together with other important Christian leaders. So figures like Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis and some others. In other words, these important statements about the condition of the present world, they're born out of dialogue with other Christians. What can this tell us about the state of ecumenism today, do you think?
Well, it's a dimension of our Christian faith and discipleship that really is very central and that we probably didn't think as much about 20 or 30 years ago. Certainly not Catholics didn't before Vatican II. I think in older decades, we tend to be more concerned for the tradition of the purity of the traditions we lived in. But with Vatican II, our perspective broadened a bit as Catholics. We began to think that as Christians, we share a common vocation because we read the same New Testament and we live in the same surroundings. Um, so the message of Patriarch Bartholomew spoke more pointedly to us, I think, as Catholics since Vatican II, because we're aware of a common obligation we have to protect the world that we live in, our common home, as he calls it. And so the two streams in our awareness as Christians have sort of converged: our sense of responsibility for our material world and our sense of the need to have a united witness and move towards a united practice. Ecumenism is a relatively new concern of many Christian groups. For Catholics, it really was first articulated at the Second Vatican Council by many people who pointed out that as Christians, we share a common vocation, common origins, and that our differences mustn't outweigh the things that unite us in faith and in moral obligation. And so Patriarch Bartholomew's message has really coincided with a new consciousness among Catholics. We have to work with our Orthodox brothers and sisters and with them see a common Christian obligation for the world around us.
Right. Yeah, actually, I have a closely related follow-up question, which is that, well, of course, you yourself have been a longtime advocate of ecumenical dialogue. What is it about this kind of dialogue between church leaders that's so important?
Well, I think it reminds us that being a Christian is not just being a Methodist or Episcopalian or Roman Catholic or some of the subdivisions that we find in those groups, but that it involves a obligation and a faith in to accept the gospel message of Jesus together. Being a Christian comes before even being a Catholic or Orthodox Christian. It comes before the different concrete specifications that we have. That doesn't mean they're unimportant at all, because we live in history, we live in a tradition. Our families, our national backgrounds point us towards certain ways of being a Christian. But before them all, we have a common obligation to hear the message of Jesus and to respond to it in faith. So ecumenical dialogue, I think, which has been a very important part of being a Christian since the late 1950s, especially, points us to what we share together with Orthodox and Protestant brothers and sisters, their colleagues there. That with them we share a common faith in Jesus and a common sense of responsibility.
That's really beautifully put. Thank you. Yeah, I have just one final question. Who, in your opinion, would benefit most from picking this book up?
Well, I think anybody could. I mean, these are wonderful little documents, some more extensive and more well argued than others. But I think especially Catholic readers who have a sense of our connectedness with other Christian groups would benefit from it. Anyone interested in the implications of Christian faith and practice for the way we treat the world, for our daily life, what we eat and what we do with our world, would benefit from it too. And I think would be inspired by the witness of Patriarch Bartholomew. Anybody living in a large environment like the city of Chicago or New York, or even smaller cities that have a sense of being cheek by jowl with other Christians, other people of goodwill, I think would be inspired by hearing his message. This is someone who is not part of our Roman Catholic tradition, and yet who speaks in deep faith about the gospel of Jesus and its implications for us. So I think it would do all of us good to read in this book and to read the way Father John Christoph Gies presents Patriarch Bartholomew's life. It's also very interesting.
Excellent. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Father Daley, for being here today to speak with us.
Well, thank you, Jacob. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for your role in putting this book out and getting it to the market. It's really an important message from Notre Dame and from the press, as well as from the Greek Orthodox tradition. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's been a pleasure discussing our forthcoming book, again, Global Initiatives of Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew. It'll be available on April 1st, wherever books are sold. We'd like to encourage our viewers to visit and support your local independent bookstore, either in person or online, or you can order the book through the Notre Dame Press website at undpress.nd.edu. Thank you for joining us. And
Amen.
thank you again.
Thank you too, Jacob.